How many of you have ever asked this question, who am I, and have wondered what the answer is? Anybody? Anybody asked, who am I? Wow, I've got really young participants today. Yes. Have you ever asked, who am I? And? You still don't know, right? But as of now, who do you identify yourself as? Like if I ask you, who are you? What would you say? Sorry? Purva. That's what you would say, isn't it? All of us. I'll tell you, the adults are a bit, they're not opening up as children do, but the adults want to be a little quiet. But most of us have these questions, who am I, right? Because, and the reason we have this question is that within ourselves, we are seeing changes that's happening. Like, if you look at your, I'm sure your mother has kept an album of you where she has loads of pictures of you from the time you were born, right? When you look, no, of course she does. Of course she does. Mother, you need to go and show her the album, yeah? So, if you see that album and you'll see that, those pictures, you're a baby, infant. Today, you're this young girl. Right? I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, yeah? So you've grown and you've changed. That body has changed. But something has remained permanent, right? Something has not changed. And that is what our Vedic literature talks about. What is that something that has not changed? What is that true self, that real self? And that Vedic sages tell us that survives death and it continues to live on, right? So what Vedic literatures and what the Bhagavad Gita says, and there's a very beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which says, Na jayate mrayate va kadachin, nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuya, ajo nitya shashvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So what it is saying is that for the soul, which is the true self, there is neither birth nor death. Why? Because the soul is eternal. It does not come into being. It will not come into being. And it has never in the past come into being because it is unborn, it is eternal, it is not slain, or it does not die when the body dies. Right? So that is the true self. That soul is the true self. Now I can see a lot of heads nodding. Right? Because all of you, of course, know this, but when you ask, questions and sometimes, you feel you don't want to answer, but that is the true self. So the soul doesn't die. And even in the Western world, this is our Bhagavad Gita, which is quoting that the soul doesn't die. But even in the Western world, you will be surprised that a lot of philosophers actually talk about reincarnation. Probably many of you must have heard about Socrates and Plato. These are the great philosophers, and they also talk about life being eternal. There is a wonderful saying with Socrates at the end of his life. He said that I am confident that truly is such a thing as living again, and interesting, and that the living spring from the dead. Right? So even in the Western civilization and Western philosophy, we do have great thinkers who actually understand and accept the part that death is not the final destination, right, for the soul. Once you understand the soul. So the first step, of course, is that we understand that we are not this body, we are the soul. And then if not this body and we are the soul, then what happens to this soul after one dies? And again, like I said, a lot of different philosophies do talk about reincarnation. There is a famous Sufi poet, and he writes, this is very interesting. When I read, I thought it is so interesting. He writes, I died as a mineral and became a plant. I died as a plant and rose to animal. I died as animal and I was man. Why should I fear? When was I less by dying? You see, because he's writing that when he died, he actually elevated to another, when he was a plant, then he became an animal, then he became man. So why should one think that, death is the be-all and end-all? Sometimes this concept may seem very alien, and we might not really understand, but like I was talking to this little girl here, you can actually see your body changing throughout this lifetime. And in one sense, you are reincarnating, right? In one sense, you are every day reincarnating in this body itself. And similarly, at the time of death, this soul, which is the true eternal self, transfers from one physical body to another. And again, in the Bhagavad Gita, there is this very famous verse which talks about this transmigration. And it says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuyati. And the translation, as given by Srila Prabhupada ki jai, he says, as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Once you understand that the soul is eternal, once you understand that this particular body and this particular life that you have is actually temporary, it's not permanent, then you will not be bewildered by the change that is happening even now in your day-to-day life and at the time of death, because you know that this is going to happen and you're prepared, because you know that this is not my eternal self. My eternal self is the soul, right? So we've understood that yes, man reincarnates even in this life, and then at the time of death, again, we change our bodies. And again, the Gita has a very beautiful verse which actually explains this change of body by using an analogy. And I'll recite this verse. It is so beautiful. I'll just say the translation, the English. It says, as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So you see, when we change our garment, let's say that what we are wearing is old, worn out, and torn, you discard it, right? You discard that garment because it is no longer of use to you. The same way, when your body, this current physical body that you're in, is no longer useful, it cannot actually provide what it is meant to give to you. At that time, then the soul is taken away from this physical body and given another body, right? Because now, it no longer can fulfill the functions. And Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita that one who has taken birth is bound to die. That is the law. One who takes birth is going to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. So Krishna is talking about the cycle of life and death, birth and death, constantly. He's speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield and talking about life and death and saying that one who takes birth is going to die, and one who dies will take birth again, right? So the next point is, and the next question that arises is, what determines what body am I going to get in my next life? That's a very, very important and significant question that all of us should be asking ourselves. Currently, the body that I am in is because of my past activities and actions. How many of you are aware of the term karma? Yeah? Very few hands. I think everybody knows about karma, right? Everybody talks about it. I mean, even in the Western society, we talk about karma. What goes around comes around. We talk about that all the time. Now, according to our Vedic literature, there are 8,400,000 species of life, beginning with, of course, there'll be microbes and worms and then fish and plants and animals and so many. There are so many different species of life. And then, of course, the human being, and then we have the demigods, and you've got different. And the Gita explains that how one gets this next body is based on so many factors, right? It is based on what your current karma is, what activities are you actually focusing on, right? It is also based on that at the time of death, what is your mind, what are you thinking about, what is your desire? And Krishna says in the Gita, it says, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So at the time of death, whatever you are thinking about, that is the body that you will get next. Now, karma is not applicable to species who are in the lower field, like in the sense that trees, fish, animals, they don't incur any karma. And one may say, why is that? The reason is because animals have not been given that much intelligence to actually see the right from wrong. That intelligence has been given to human being. So one evolves from the lower species to the higher species is an evolution process. So you will come to the higher species. An animal will, through evolution come to this human form of life. But it is in the human form of life, because you are given the intelligence and you are using that intelligence to either commit good or bad activities, and based on that activity, then your future body is being decided. And that starts happening right from day one. A lot of times people think that religion or spirituality should be practiced when one is done with all the material duties and probably retired from life. But when you hear this, you realize that if you don't understand spirituality, religion, or reincarnation or karma, what you are doing is, in this particular life, you are incurring a lot of karma and you are actually creating the body. Think about it, like these days there's so much talk about technology and artificial intelligence, and through artificial intelligence, you're creating so many things, like even these days, like TV shows and that, and you've got animated shows, and you're creating these, what are these called? Avatars of everybody. Right now, what you're doing is you are creating your own avatar, which you will go into after you leave this particular physical body, right? So the Bhagavad Gita explains that with the mind, through its subtle conceptions, we are creating this body. And the analogy given is, sometimes you're sitting in this room and suddenly there is this whiff of air and you can smell something. Like right now you can smell some food. I don't know if you all can. I can. So what's happening is that the air is carrying the aroma. Likewise, our body, our subtle mind and intelligence and our ego carries the conceptions from this life to the next life. It does that. So what we are doing is going to obviously affect our next life, right? Now, sometimes some people may say that transmigration and reincarnation, I don't believe in it. So Srila Prabhupada says, it is not a question of religion, it is not a question of faith, it is not a question of what you believe or you don't believe in. The reality, the fact is that you are spirit souls. And by laws of material nature, you will be carried from one body to another, whether you believe it or you don't believe it, right? You may say that, I'm not going to follow this particular law. The signal says red, I don't care, I'm going to break the signal and I'm going to go. Right, okay, you don't believe it, it's fine. You are going to get a ticket for it. You are going to get a penalty for it. Immaterial of whether you believe it or you don't believe. Likewise, these laws, this law of transmigration, these laws of karma, whether you believe it or you don't believe it, it is going to work on you, because that is the law, right? So, what is being said here is now that because you carry the consciousness at death, you carry these thought patterns, you carry all these experiences into your next life, wouldn't you say that now is a time for me to correct my thoughts, correct my consciousness, change how I am behaving or what I am doing? Because when you become aware of the fact that, yes, I'm not this body, I am the soul, I am going to get another body, I am going to reincarnate, and I don't know what I might reincarnate as. Like, there's two things that you can look at. Something is in your control, something is beyond your control. What you can't control, that's it. You can't control, accept it. But what you can control, what you have in your hand, at least let us do that. And what is that? The endeavor to try and identify our true self. Once you've identified your true self, what is the next step? See, as soon as you know, let's say that you, like here Purva has identified that she is Purva. She's an 8-year-old girl. Right now she understands her duty is to go to school and study, listen to her parents and do all of these duties. That is how she identifies herself as, because she knows this is my role. So as soon as you identify yourself as the spirit soul, then you also realize, okay, as the spirit soul, I am actually eternally connected to the super soul, and that is the Lord. That's Lord Krishna. So even an 8-year-old Purva can understand her duties. Then sometimes why is it that we fail to understand what my duty and responsibility is as the true spirit soul, right? At least now, and it's not something to scare everybody about, but it is facts. Like when we talk about, if you do something wrong against the law, then you will be punished. You will be taken to a prison or you will be given a penalty. It's not to scare you, it is to state facts. And same way, in our life, in human life, we have to understand that if we don't make the right choices, then, it will be our misfortune that we've been given this opportunity, but we are not using it, right? It's our misfortune. That's all that we can actually say. Now, the Vedic teachings, what are they telling us about reincarnation? So now we've kind of established that yes, in most of the different religions or faiths, most of the people do believe in reincarnation in different ways. The Vedic teachings is telling us that reincarnation is actually giving us an opportunity to understand our material circumstances. So one may question, why am I born in a female body? Why is somebody else born as an animal? Why is somebody born in India, somebody is born in America, somebody is born in London? Sometimes these questions do come, right? Why this particular, it's a worm, why is this a tree? They're all living entities at the end of the day. They're all living entities. So what was it that determined, right, these, this particular body? How is it that some people have extraordinary skills? And many times you will come across like a child who's just 4 or 5 years old and is able to play these musical instruments like professionals. Where did they get the skill from? And sometimes the comment goes, learned it from the mother's womb. They didn't learn it just from the mother's womb. It's coming from past lives, And we've heard of that, right? We've heard of young children, conducting symphonies and, some of them can just rattle off maths problems like anything. There are children who at the age of 12 have not just graduated, they've done post-graduation also. So where is all this coming from? It is not just intelligence, it is some past life things, right? Sometimes, when you understand this reincarnation, then many times this question will also get answered that, why is this happening to me? Am I right in saying that sometimes when trouble comes or some things don't go according to your wishes, you may ask, why is this happening to me? How many people have asked this question, why is this happening to me? Come on, let us see a raise of hands. Yeah? Why is this happening to me? So then we realize that none of us is a blank slate. We may think that we've started this life on a blank slate, but we haven't. We've not started on a blank slate. We are carrying a lot of our past life karma. Now, some may think that past life is what? Just one life? No. We've had so many lifetimes, because we just spoke about evolution, right? So you didn't suddenly one fine day become a human being. You've evolved. And that evolution has taken many lifetimes, right? Yes, we understand that as animals, we are not incurring any karma. But then our Vedic literature goes on to say that it is not necessary that a human being will come back as a human being again in the next life. One may come back as a tree, as a fish, as a worm, as an animal. So right now I'm a human being. I am creating all this karma, good and bad and everything. Based on whatever I'm creating, I will get a next life. That next life could be an animal life, maybe. So then by evolution, again, I may hopefully become a human being. So it's fine that one lifetime of animal, I don't have any karmas, but my previous lifetimes I've got karmas, right? So again, now this is not, what we are not talking here to kind of give you a very morbid situation of, life is just so difficult. These are the facts. It's important to understand this. It's important to not walk through life with rose-tinted glasses and thinking, it's wonderful. Everything is great. I will do what I want to in this life. I will enjoy myself thoroughly, because at the end of the day, once you're dead, you're dead. That's it. We don't want to live life like this with rose-tinted glasses. That is why one has to read the Vedic literatures, understand what these literatures are telling us, and then make the required changes in our lives, right? Now, I know that whenever we talk about spirituality, religion, God, reincarnation, karma, a lot of people do want scientific evidence. I don't know how many of you have read books and various articles about reincarnation. There are loads available. Even in the Western world, there are many scientists who've done various kinds of research. But of course, like scientific experiments and evidences are such that today everything may seem perfect and true, and the next day sometimes things are proven wrong. Am I correct? Because even in diseases, they say, yes, this is groundbreaking. We found the cure for this. And then after like a couple of years, you say, oh, the medicine that we used to administer for this actually is creating so many side effects. That's happened. All of us are aware of it. It's not something that we're making up. So yes, sometimes, the evidence may not be the be-all and end-all. One has to kind of sometimes look at various circumstances to accept this. But some of the things that I was reading about is sometimes you have this feeling, you go somewhere completely new and you feel, I've been here before. I seem to know this place. How many of you have experienced, like you feel like, I've been here, right? I've been here. And probably, as our acharyas are saying, that maybe that's some kind of past life experiences. There's no way to know for sure, but that could be one way, right? Then a lot of, modern days, these days we hear about mediums, channels, who are able to kind of, communicate with people from the other world. Any of you have heard about these things? They seem quite sinister sometimes, and a bit scary. I wouldn't advise one to go into that, but as talking about these things and, sometimes they do that. Sometimes the medium may speak in a trance, and sometimes they may say things to you about what's happened in your past life. Again, not 100% scientific way of understanding this, but, things which could help you. How many of you heard about past life regression? Anybody heard about past life regression? Couple? Okay, a few, very few, very few. Okay. So again here, past life regression is something which kind of takes you to your, it starts with taking you to, obviously, say if you're, say, 25 years old, they might take you to 5 years back, and, it'll kind of, your memory comes alive with, what happened 5 years back, and then 10 years back, and 15 years back, and eventually it goes to your past life. And there are experts who do that. Again, I am not advising anybody to go into all these kind of things, because there is no 100% scientific proof that all these works, and it could actually just make you more miserable, and I will come to the reason why it will make you miserable. So anyways, there are various things happening, but one of the things that we can kind of put our money on, Krishna consciousness doesn't allow us to do any kind of betting, so we're not betting here. But what you could believe in is sometimes when you come across stories and newspapers where you read about a child who remembers his past life. How many of you have heard these kind of stories? I used to be really fascinated by these stories, because initially I would not believe these things, right? I would think, they're just making all this up. Before I came to Krishna consciousness, before I understood all these things, I would think, that's not true. But obviously, you hear of children, they actually will describe the place that they were born in or they grew up in. They can sometimes describe the house that they grew up in, their parents, their friends, their brother, the surroundings. And when you take that child to that particular place, he's able to identify his house as well. And it's not something that's happening only in, in the Eastern countries. It's happening also in the West. There's a lot of Western scientists who've done various studies on this, where they see that children are able to, remember all these things, remember their past life. And that is actually one of the more believable scientific evidence of reincarnation. That is, I would say, most interesting and very persuasive as well. Because when you hear this, see, children as young as 4 and 5 are not just making it up from reading stories or novels or newspapers. They are actually experiencing these things. They are actually able to identify their, parents and that. And it has also happened that when they are young, 4, 5, 6, they remember. And then when they start growing up, 10, 11, they actually also forget about this. They tend to forget then eventually. And obviously, then the question comes that, if you're going to forget, then what's the point? What's the purpose? Why reincarnation? What is the purpose of reincarnation? So then the Vedic literature actually gives us answers to that. And it says that reincarnation is so that we can live out our desires. And once, I will give you one very interesting anecdote. Srila Prabhupada was walking on the beach, and he saw these young men and women, in the sea. And, there's lots of activities that we don't get to see so much in India, but in the Western countries, like you see surfing, and you see paddle boarding, and you see all these kind of things that people indulge in, right? In water activities, water sports. And Prabhupada saw that, these young men and women are enjoying themselves so much in the water. And he made a comment. He said that they love water so much, so in their next life, they will get the body of a fish, because that's their desire. They want to be in the water. Like you will see of some people that, they have this fascination with flying. I don't know what all methods are there besides, of course, the traditional that you get in an aircraft and fly. But besides that, there are people who are getting all these, I don't know what it is called, like paragliding and, parachuting and jumping from the aircrafts and all kinds of things, because they have this fascination for flying. So then, then Krishna will fulfill your desire that, okay, you're so fascinated by flying, so next life you become a bird, right? I remember when we were young, and if we would sleep a lot, then our parents, I don't know if you all do it, but our parents would say that, next life you're going to be a bear. Because the bear sleeps for 6 months, they say, right? Hibernates for 6 months. So next life you're going to be a bear, or previous life you must have been a bear. That is why you like to sleep so much, right? Have any of you heard those comments? I heard it when I was growing up. You heard it as well? Or you say that? You heard it, okay. All right. So what is happening is, so the purpose of reincarnation according to our Vedic literatures is that, one, it gives us the opportunity to fulfill our desires. And the second, which is the most important one, is that we are being given repeated opportunities to attain spiritual realization. When we talk of spiritual realization, what we are meaning is that we need to break out of this cycle of life and death. We are stuck in this cycle. And very often I use the analogy of this number 8, because I think it's something that one can remember so easily, even children. 8, the number 8, doesn't have a beginning or an end. Right? It doesn't have a beginning or an end. Likewise, this samsara, that we are stuck in the cycle of life, birth, old age, disease, and death, we may think it has a beginning and an end because it begins with birth and it ends with death, but we are caught in this cycle like the number 8. So I'll explain this number 8. Number 8 has a middle part, and then it goes up, and then it comes down, right? So as an analogy, right now, let's say we are in the middle, on the earth planet. We are performing various karmas, good and bad. We perform good karmas, we may be elevated to the heavenly planets, right? As soon as a quota of good karmas is over, we'll come back to the earth. And unfortunately, we may again perform either pious or impious activities. Based on that, we may either go down to hellish planets or go back to the heavenly planets. But we are stuck in this number 8. Heavenly planets, earth, hellish. Hellish planets, earth, heavenly planets. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. We are stuck. There's no beginning, there's no end. But we are eternal souls. We are not meant to be stuck here. We are not meant to be traveling from heavenly planets to the hellish planets and constantly dealing with this material nature, which is this material world, which is a place of sadness. I'll ask this question, and honestly, if you can honestly answer, how many of you have eternally seen happiness till what age you are now? Eternally, never had any problem in life at all. How many of you? Nobody? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that this place is dukkhalaya ashashvatam. There is going to be misery in this place, no matter what you do. You may make all the arrangements. You may do everything to be happy, but this place is not meant for that. Why? The reason is because this place is temporary. This material world is temporary. But you're eternal. How will you find eternal happiness in a place that is temporary? Right? And that is why Krishna is giving us this opportunity through reincarnation to come to that stage of self-realization where I have had many lifetimes, I have enjoyed everything, I've become a fish because I like the water, I became a bird because I liked flying, I became a bear because I wanted to sleep. Now I am a human being, now I've been given the intelligence to realize I don't want to come back as a fish, I don't want to become a tree, I don't want to become a bear. So what do I want? I want to go back where I eternally belong. And where is that? I want to go back to Krishna. I want to go back to my original home. Right? So, what the Vedic writings are telling us is that is the two reasons of why reincarnation is happening. Obviously, the question is, like we already discussed this, that because I don't remember anything, what is the point? What's the point? Now, you tell me one thing. If you remembered all your past lives, let's say that you were born last life also as a human being, you remember your parents, you remember your relatives, you remember your brother and sisters, you also remember all the friends that you had a fight with, and you remember everything that your colleagues did at work, That's one lifetime I'm talking about. And think about it, if you remember all your previous lifetime, would you be able to survive? You would not be able to survive. And so actually, Krishna is so compassionate and so merciful that he deletes all this memory, right? You know, when your computer stops working, it's got too much on it. And when you take it to a technician, computer person, you know, the first thing he says is, you need to reboot your computer. Delete everything and reboot the computer. So we are being given a chance through reincarnation to reboot our lives, right? Complete erase, let's start afresh. Right? So there's no need for you to remember all of these things. Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedic literature says that the trauma of birth, you know, when you are taking birth, that trauma is so much that you forget that you forget about previous life. You even forget that you were in the womb of your mother. Ask any child, ask any of us, do you remember your birth? Does anybody remember their birth? Yes, today there are various ways of recording everything, but do you personally remember it? No, you don't remember it. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is saying that there is no point of having all these previous birth memories because it would be unbearable. And that is why you don't need to remember it. So then the next question is, we don't need to remember it, so what do we do with all these? Yes, we've understood karma, we've understood reincarnation, we've understood all of these things. So what are we going to do? What do we learn from this? What Krishna is doing is that through scriptures, through saintly people, through sages, through teachers, he's trying to actually guide us and teach us also from within, because Krishna is the super soul, the Paramatma within each and every one of us. Do you all believe that? That God is within each and every one of us and he is guiding us from within? So through all these sources, what he's trying to do is for us to actually come to a stage where we say, right, I have understood through all these reincarnations, through all my past lives, I have understood, I've come to a stage where I realize that my true self is not this body, my true self is this soul. And as the soul, then my destination or my goal is to be in the service of the Supreme Soul. In your material life, whatever you achieve, let's say that you've done your bachelor's and master's and you've got a fantastic job and whatever else. At 65, when you retire, you don't take the job with you, right? You've retired, that's done, it's over. Eventually, when a person dies, he doesn't take his relatives with him, he doesn't take his house, he doesn't take any money, nothing he takes with him. So, in the material life, whatever is here, you earn, it's given, finished, over. Spirituality is not like that. And so what reincarnation is doing is that it is giving you a chance to actually make some deposits in what is known as the Krishna Bank. We call this the Krishna Bank. And what is the kind of deposits that you can make? You can make deposits through devotional activities, through service. So if you take up Bhakti Yoga, right, and you start to realize your relation with Krishna and work towards improving your relation. Now, each and every one of us, do you agree that each and every one of us has got a relation with God? It's not that only, the sannyasis have a relation with God. No. Krishna has a relation with each and every one of us. We've forgotten it. That's a sad thing. We've forgotten it. But Krishna is giving us this chance. What chance he's giving is, make these deposits in Krishna Bank. It may be that, it'll take us many lifetimes, or it may take us one lifetime. Prabhupada said that to become a pure devotee sometimes could take just 1 second, or it could take many lifetimes. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if that is what it is. It is. But at least let us make use of this to deposit in our Krishna Bank and realize that this is the goal, right? Only in the human form we can free ourselves from this endless cycle of birth and death. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all of them are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. We spoke about this, the number 8. From the highest planets, heavenly planets, to the hellish planets, constantly repeated birth and death take place. How do we break out of this? So Krishna says, one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So, we are, at the beginning we spoke about how dismal this life looks like and how hopeless it looks like, and it is full of miseries. Yes, but Krishna is giving you a way out of this. Imagine when a man is drowning, and you hold a stick to him. For him, that stick is life-saving. He's going to, somehow or the other hold on to that stick. Krishna constantly is giving us that stick. We're drowning in this material world, but he's there. How? Through his scriptures, through, coming to the temple, worshipping, through devotees, through associating with devotees. He's constantly giving us that stick, right? And he's saying in the Bhagavad Gita, so many verses talks about this. He says that once you understand the nature, the transcendental nature of my appearance, then you will never take birth in this material world again. Do we not all want that? Yes? Everybody? Can I say a loud yes? Yes? Exactly. So what are we going to do about it? I'll give you the easiest way what you can do about it. Starting from immediately, right now. The easiest way, Srila Prabhupada has said, is chanting the holy names. Exactly. How many of you are aware of what the Mahamantra is? A few. Let us all chant together, because Prabhupada says, and the Shastra says, in the Kali Yuga, the only way of reviving your lost consciousness, of understanding your true self, is by chanting the holy name. So let us all raise our hands and chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now, tell me one thing. We spoke about all the miseries, and we've given you the easiest solution. Why would anybody not take it? Any intelligent person would obviously cling to that stick, that straw that is being given to us by our acharyas, by the Lord himself, by the devotees, right? So my humble request to all of you is, if you are not already chanting, then please start chanting. We've heard about karma, we've heard about reincarnation. If we want to create a new avatar for ourselves, then the only way to do it is by chanting. So please do start chanting, right from now, right from today, if you can. And anybody can do it. There's no rules, there's no regulation. Anybody can do it. From a small child to, an elderly person, anybody can chant the holy names. And of course, do visit the temple, because this is the place where you get this kind of knowledge and you understand what life is about, what your true self is, and what I should be doing to feed my true self. We keep decorating this external body, which is anyways going to finish. So we need to decorate the true self, which is the soul, right? I shall stop here. Thank you very much. We've got just a couple of minutes before the Aarti starts. If there are any quick comments or questions, or if you have something, we can even discuss it afterwards. But I think we should get the temple room ready, unless there are any burning comments, corrections, anything. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for attending. Mataji said chant the Hare Krishna mantra. It's like an insurance policy, but there's no money involved, but then you get spiritual benefits. So this is your insurance policy. No.
You see, I've sang before, but I think
we can do it together.
Yeah, sure.
So just get everyone when we chant, do you do each line twice?
Up to you.
It's up to you. Yeah.
So, Aarti ceremony is just going to be performed very soon. So, if everyone can please come forward. And when the Aarti is going to be performed, we're going to be singing this song, which is on the right hand side coming from the ceiling, the Gora Aarti song. The lead singer will sing one line at a time. And then, if you can repeat after the lead singer, then we'll go on to chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And if I can humbly request, if you can make some space on the right hand side, yeah, so we can have the singer and the instrument players here on the right hand side. So if you can just squeeze a little bit to the left, everyone. Yeah. And then you can join in. As we're singing, you can also join in with the dancing as well. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radhe Jaya. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gora Nitai, Gora Nitai, Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jiv Jayo Jayo Gora Chande Arati Kashobha. Vasa Chatadara Vasa Chatadara Nikate Advaitati Vasa Chatadara Goraja Ratna Simasane Goraja Ratna Simasane Vasi Ajay Goraja Ratna Chimasane Goraja Ratna Chimasane Aroti Korena Brahma Adi Devagane Adi Devagane Arati Korena Brahma Adi Devagane Narari Adi Kori Kamaradulaya Narari Adi Kori Kamaradulaya Narari Adi Kori Kamaradulaya Hari Hari Kori Kamaradulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Dosadigaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Dosadigaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Dosadigaya Madhura 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 Bhate Madhura 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 Bhate Madhura 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 Bhate Jai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Gora Hari Bol Jai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Gora Hari Bol बहु कोटि चंद्रदीने वदन उज्ज्वला चंद्रदीने वदन उज्ज्वला जल देते वनमाला करे जलमाला करे जलमाला जल देते वनमाला करे जलमाला Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gita Gora Hari Bol, Gita Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gita Gora Hari Bol. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna prasthaya bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Patita Pavana Gaura Hari. Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana, Patita Pavana Gaura Hari. Jai Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nandana Gaurari, Jagati Nandana Gaurari, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jagati Nandana Gaurari, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
We offer our respects to the saintly personalities and the Supreme Lord. If there is space, you can go on the floor. Otherwise, you can put your palms together in a pranam mudra. And every time I say a personality's name, you can say ki. If you can say loud as you can, Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajagacharya Astotara Sata Sri Srimad Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shivada Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Ayodhya Puri Dham Ki Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Ganga Maya Yamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Oh, glories to the assembled devotee. Oh, glories to the assembled devotee. Oh, glories to the assembled devotee. Oh, glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Please kindly take a seat. We're going to conclude the Aarti ceremony by offering pranams, prayers unto Lord Nrsimhadev. And then we have some very important announcements, so please do stay with us. So we'll have Ramai Prabhu who will head up the Nrsimhadev prayers.
Namaste Narasingaya. Narasingamadim Sharanam Prapade Narasingamadim Sharanam Prapade Tavakara Kamala Parenakam Abhuta Shringam Dalita Kashipu Danu Bringam Keshavadritam Narahari Rupam Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadritam Narahari Rupam Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I couldn't hear that. Hare Krishna. That's much better. Thank you everyone for coming to Bhaktivedanta Manor today. The next darshan will be at 9 o'clock, so please do stick around. In the meantime, if you haven't done so already, please do take some prasadam. It's currently being served in the Haveli. Also, there's a very special program in the Haveli. Some special kirtans going on all the way till 9:30. So if you can, please do try to attend. In the meantime, there'll also be some kirtans here in the temple room. Hope you have a nice week, and it will be lovely to see you again next week. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Just give us a couple of minutes or a few seconds even, just so the devotees can set us here for kirtan.